Okay, human biology students, trying something here. Don't know how well this will work. Not in my basement today, obviously. I'm trying to demonstrate, or do one of the demonstrations I did and let you as a class try when we were doing an in-lab piece on muscles. And that was to demonstrate, and it kind of fits with, currently we're in the nervous system, or you'll be going into the nervous system. It kind of fits with that, and I wanted to illustrate the electrical connection between the nervous system and the muscular system. And I'm doing that, trying to simulate it with a piece of retro tech here. This is an early 80s vintage Mac 2E. This is probably at least 10 years older than most of you are, all of you are. I just pull it out every year just to see if it still works for kicks and grins, and so you can see why people my age are going blind, because we had to look at that kind of a screen. I actually started working on computers a generation before this with the TRS-80 from Radio Shack, so been using them for a long time. So this computer is set up with two 5 1/4 inch floppy disk drives, and this is connected to the stimulator, and the stimulator allows me to see if I can move the camera so you can see it. It allows me to turn up the events per second. So what's going to happen here is this red wire here will have a current running through it, and it will kind of pulse through it. And this will allow me to turn up how many pulses per second go through it. I'm not going to mess with the duration of each of the pulses. And this is the amplitude or the intensity of that pulse. Okay, I know this looks a little bit like the Green Mile here, and it should, because I've got some of ye old electrogel here, and so I've done some mapping on my arm. Obviously, you can see all the little dimples I put in my arm looking for actually the place where the ulnar nerve that runs along the ulnus, your elbow bone, it comes closest to the surface, and that's different for everybody. And it will change depending on the orientation of your arm. Muscles will push it down and bring it back to the surface. But again, there's a current going through here. And to illustrate that, I want you to look at my hand and watch these fingers move. They'll jump pretty good as I put this current on my arm. Now, don't worry, it's not going to make my hair sizzle, but it's significant. Okay. So there we have it. And if I take the probe away, it goes away. I also have the ability to consciously override that signal. I can stretch my fingers out and move them. They continue to jump, and you can also see the muscles in my forearm jump. And I'm going to, so if you watch the speed there, I'm going to turn it up and watch how fast my fingers go now. Okay. Or if I turn it down, I get a slower rate. And if I change the amplitude knob, we would go from a strong twitch to either a stronger twitch if I made it a more intense signal, or a weaker twitch if a less intense signal. What I'm going to try to do here then is just to show you how this old technology used to work. The idea here is with this device right here, this trigger device, it's actually attached to the monitor, and when the trigger pulses, it'll make a reading, if you will, on a screen that you're about to see, and we'll mess with that just a little bit here. So here we go, and it might take me a minute to get this right, but we'll give it a go here. And you can see how that makes a peak every time my finger jumps. Okay, now when I turn up the intensity a little bit, you'll notice that those peaks jump higher. And if I will also turn up the events per second, the baseline goes up as well. That's because more and more muscle fibers are getting involved in this flexion as we go. So if I turn it up to 4, now that's the events per second, watch what happens here. Oh shucks, okay, I have to do it again here. What I want you to notice is that as I turn up the events per second, increasing the number of muscle fibers that are getting into the act, at some point, all muscle fibers are involved and it flatlines across the top. Okay, and now I'll just let go. So it was flatlining across the top. We would call that tetanus, when all muscle fibers are maximally contracting. Again, I'm doing this myself right now. So at a low voltage and rate, not all the muscle fibers are firing. But then as we increase that, increase the strength and the frequency, more and more muscle fibers get into the act until, here we go, boom, it flatlines across the top. Whew. Now I'm telling you, that's not exactly painful. It's not pleasant. I would definitely turn it down. I don't know what's going on. I used to be able to take about 40, 45, and currently I have it set up to 80 volts. I must be getting less sensitive in my old age. But as this is happening, that's obviously stressful to my hand, to my muscles. There is some discomfort involved with it. And so when I take that stimulus away then, I get what's called an endorphin and enkephalin rush in my body. Those are what heroin actually mimics, but they are naturally produced neurotransmitters that occur in your body. And sorry, the microphone fell off there. I hope you can hear. And when a pain is relieved, they get dumped into the system. It's also what's responsible for what's known as runner's high. So after you do a good long workout or run 3 miles, 5 miles, whatever it is you do, and you get back and you sit down and you take a big drink of water, you get that rush of endorphins and enkephalins that make you just feel good, just euphoric. Euphoric is the word, but just you're in your happy place and life is good. Again, that's what heroin mimics. Of course, it amps things up much higher than your body would naturally do, and that's part of what makes it so dangerous. But it just calms you, makes you feel really good, and yeah, endorphins and enkephalins. Okay, so I'm going to turn this down then to 40, and we'll see what happens here. And that's much easier to take. And then I'll slow that down from 4 down to 1, the speed that the signals come along, and you can see what goes on there. Had some students last year refer to that as the driving finger. I'm not quite sure what they were saying there. It's probably not good. Anyway, yeah, so this whole demo, then in the past what I would allow students to do would be to hook themselves up. Some electrode gel underneath this on the back of their hand, place where the ulnar nerve comes close to the surface, so that when we touch this to the skin, it makes a current that's sent down the ulnar nerve, which in part is responsible for flexing the phalanges. These are the phalanges. Flexing is doing this, and yeah, making the motion that you've seen. Because you never know. I mean, maybe I'm just doing this, or maybe I'm making it up. So I would have students do it to confirm that, in fact, I wasn't making it up. So you'll just have to take my word for it. That's about what I wanted to say from that today. So where did it go? Interesting. I just move a little bit. There it is. Move a little bit, and it changes the position of that nerve inside my forearm, and makes the effect go away, if you will. All right. Hopefully this works, and I can post this. And you have a good day.